we've received many a question about Terran weaponry. In the interest of public knowledge, and personal interest, we acquired a few. Firstly, a handgun. The Nightfall QT-47 utilizes Quasar Industries' patented energy storage and discharge technology to accelerate tungsten alloy-coated slivers of neodymium to high speed via electromagnets. It has options for semi-automatic, burst fire, or automatic fire at a rate of 1,200 rounds per minute, with a handle that will automatically shift to fit the hand of its wielder, to built-in recoil suppressors, to being vacuum, water, high pressure, low temperature, and high temperature proof. This gun will outlast you and your descendants, unless you really try to destroy it. It has 3 levels of capacitor draw available to it, with the lowest able to punch through body armor after plowing through several walls, and the higher settings able to go straight through an armored Union shuttlecraft. Buy one today for only 20,000 credits! Quasar Industries takes no responsibility for any malfunctions of devices that have been tampered with, and such tampering will void the warranty. Class 2 personal armament permit required to buy, carry, use, or sell. Prices may vary. Quasar Industries takes no responsibility for the actions of any who buy this product. We bought one of these and tested it out. If anything, its capabilities are understated in the ad. Besides its firepower, we tried crushing it in a hydraulic press. It broke the press. Do note that something like this would be military only for us, whereas for them a Class 2 personal armament permit is pretty much along the lines of, you haven't committed a felony and aren't dumb enough to shoot yourself in the face with this. The gun isn't actually that much heavier than a handgun we might produce, despite its ammunition, due to how minuscule the ammunition is. Still, a Heucrit feather traveling at sufficient velocity will knock over its target, and this does a lot more than that. We were skeptical at first about the claims of it being able to shoot through a shuttlecraft. It went straight through 3 in a row. We only lined up 3. We bought a light anti-personnel sniper rifle from one of their sporting goods stores. Upon testing it, the person firing it had both arms broken from the recoil, and the projectile went through the peak of one of the mountains and got stuck somewhere within a second. Very low bullet mass, very high armor penetration. A rather good thing we had it mounted correctly, else the recoil would have done much worse. Thankfully, we learned our lesson and rigged up a remote firing system for the ridiculously oversized block of metal they call a shotgun. We still had those 3 shuttlecraft from the earlier test. After a single shot, they had much larger holes in them. In fact, we weren't certain if there was more ship left or more hull. Due to hearing damage, we decided to retire the explosive ammunition after only that first test shot, especially since the mount designed for bracing light direct-fire artillery had broken in several places. As for their actual military equipment, take for example the Hellgoose light attack craft and its ammunition. The shell fired from each of its main guns is a 3.4 kilogram armor penetrator with a payload set off by timed and or inertial fuses of anti-boron. The light craft can fire about 65 of these rounds per second per gun. Apparently, the ship is built around the 2 guns. Oh, and this fighter craft has shields stronger than most of our battleships, because of course it does. Though to be fair, the autonomous capable fighter craft is more the size of a destroyer or light cruiser than a fighter, and most of that shield strength is forward-facing. When asked why on the 8th ring of Satsak Shul a battleship would need that much firepower, let alone a light attack craft, humans generally responded with something along the lines of, "Because big explosion awesome!" Or, "It's classified." I think it's safe to say that if firing it doesn't kill you, having it fired at you definitely will, holds true. It turns out that the humans we had been receiving with mostly open arms were in fact not average humans. They've been mostly military, or at least military-related with baseline modifications, and more or less on best behavior. Take a moment to comprehend that statement. The man that accidentally turned a moon into an expanding ball of plasma was a military engineer on his best behavior, working without our civilian-grade weaponry. Yeah. It turns out that human cybernetic and genetic technologies are further along than we thought. They've figured out some way not only to selectively kill and regrow cells in accordance with new genetic code, but managed to get their neurons to replenish themselves and flawlessly integrate with existing nervous structures. Because of this, Humans can change their bodies like those of us with tattoos would change them. It's not something done in a couple of seconds, but it's hardly arduous. Because of this, many have modifications that are far from their baseline enhanced intelligence, strength, durability, etc., viewing altering their body the same as we view changing pants. For the species that don't wear pants, you get the idea. As such, you will likely be seeing humans with soft fur, scales, tails of whatever type, wings that shouldn't be able to support their mass but do, claws, feathers, bigger ears, more limbs, different eyes, digitigrade legs, differently proportioned limbs or bone structures, or any other number of modifications. Basically, if you see a sapient species you don't recognize, odds are decent it's a human. There also might be some humans with bodies closely mimicking some of the more, to them, cute of us. To quote one human, "Oh my ominous sire, those squirrel people are so adorable!" To them, mimicry is among the greatest forms of flattery, so try not to be too offended. Every species has its quirks. Since some people would freak out when a human's hair dye would fade, that was an interesting discovery, though some have taken up the human idea of dyeing parts of their bodies. If your human coworker, compatriot, whatever, shows up one day looking entirely different, don't freak out that they're dying or have a disease or something. Proclivity for body morphing aside, be aware that from this point, the humans you'll mostly be interacting with aren't as dead set on making a good first impression, which we are told means they'll be tamping down on their creepier instincts less. When we asked for clarification on what they meant, their body language shifted to be almost motionless when not actively changing positions, and far more snappy and precise when moving. And a swarm of tiny drones flew out of their torso. Some buzzed around them in a manner that was disturbing for reasons we still can't discern, while other drones observed everything and everyone nearby from various angles, as if deciding how best to disassemble such information on its workings. That, combined with them greeting people before they were visible or audible, and several other things, resulted in us requesting they go back as they were not long after. Still, it seems that overall personality remains the same between the two groups, if rather amplified in nature in the second. Sure, this means the lack of empathy for those they deem an enemy is even more pronounced, but so is kindness. Just be aware that the humans being extreme in everything holds even more true. Oh, and we've been informed that our previous document was wrong. Those weren't military-grade weapons, just slightly higher-end civilian.